Welcome to The Funnel. My name is John Shea, and I'm president of Alignment Group. This is episode 209 of The Funnel, Sales Manager's Guide to Team Success -B. Why is it -B? Because this is the second part of a two-part series. I just get tired of saying part one and part two. So if you're just tuning into the podcast for the first time, go back and listen to 208. Then you can come listen to this. Or you can listen to this and then go listen to 208. Episode number 209. Don't forget to go to alignment-group.com/the funnel and subscribe. If you subscribe to the funnel, we will send you the show notes weekly. So it comes out on Thursday, and we do send you everything we publish for the previous week. We do a blog. We try to do a blog twice a week, and we do 2 podcasts a week. Now, keep in mind, the blogs are generally companion pieces to a podcast we've done maybe a month or 2 months ago. So it's a nice little add-on to something we've done in the past. So you can sort of listen to the podcast, and then a month later you get the blog, and the blog really can update you on some of the things we talked about previously. So I think it's helpful, and I've gotten real good feedback on it. And I'd like to know what you have to say about it. So subscribe and get involved in the comments. Thanks. Okay, so today's agenda: managed pipeline and forecast. 2, coaching. 3, process. 4, the elephant in the room. 5, patterns. 6, organized. 7, everyone celebrates sales success. So like I said, this is a continuation of sort of management best practices. There's 12 to 14, I think, total. I don't remember the total number from the last podcast. That things that you should be doing as a manager. Some of these things we've covered in detail in previous podcasts. For example, the pipeline and forecast meetings and how to conduct them. So if you're interested in that, just go back and look at the previous podcasts, and you'll see that we've done a few on those. Okay, so manage the pipeline and forecast. I think it's important to understand that a manager's education and knowledge about not only the personal side of the rep, but the professional side of the rep and what they're doing every day. So we talked about KPIs and managing the daily activities and accountability in the last podcast. This is about understanding the pipeline and the forecast, the difference between the two. So like I said before, go back and listen to those podcasts on pipeline and forecast. But having a deep understanding of, one, how stuff gets into the pipeline. Not only as a general rule with your company, how stuff gets into the pipeline, but how it gets into the pipeline from this specific rep, from each one of your reps, because they are individuals and they do things slightly differently, and some have success in one area while others have success in another. So having a deep understanding of how stuff gets into the pipeline, managing those KPIs, and then understanding what's in the pipeline, the validity of what's in that pipeline. Because a large pipeline doesn't necessarily mean that turns into business. It could be a wish list. There are those folks that a guy I worked with, they called it happy ears. They hear everything they want to hear. Some say it's premature jubilation. He used to say that too. Pretty funny guy. So having a deep understanding of the pipeline and the forecast, having those ongoing forecast meetings and those ongoing pipeline meetings. If you remember the last podcast, we talked about consistency. Do the things that you can do on a consistent basis. They like that. Don't start a forecast meeting schedule and then drop it 2 months later. Stay on it. So making sure that you keep that process going. Ongoing forecast, ongoing pipeline meetings are critical to managing the outcomes. So make sure you comb that into your best practices. Coaching. Again, we've done extensive podcasts on coaching. Don't neglect the coaching. So I went over last podcast, I went over sort of time management and managing your time. And one of the things I suggested was start with that, right? If you're getting pulled into a lot of meetings and putting out a lot of fires, start working on managing that more efficiently and getting out of those meetings that are unimportant and reducing the amount of fires you're putting out daily. Coaching's the same thing. You don't neglect it. You stay focused on it. It becomes a priority with your team. It is probably the most important responsibility as a manager is to coach. And it is probably the most neglected. Why is it the most neglected? Because it does take time and effort, and it does take away from fires, and it does take away from the meetings. And a coach is more in the background. You're coaching them, and you're not slaying the dragon yourself. So there might be some ego or personality thing kind of tearing at you inside with that. You should look into that. You should take advantage of the coaching opportunities. One, it should be scheduled, but there are unscheduled. Somebody's going to call you with a question or a problem. Use the coaching techniques to help them. Don't just give the quick answer to get off the phone. It puts you in a better place to provide feedback. And they shouldn't be scolded through the coaching process. You know that. Again, the most important part of your job, the most neglected part of most sales managers' jobs. So find a way to make that happen. Process. I've talked about sales process before. Okay, sales process, all your processes are important. But here's the issue. There are folks that put process in place and think they're done. Well, we have a process. Okay. Do you manage to that process? Well, if everybody, I remember an administrator saying this to me once. It was a process for paperwork and turning in paperwork. And it was just a ridiculous amount of paperwork and a ridiculous amount of customer signatures. It was ripe with opportunity for mistake. And then when there was a mistake, the whole thing broke down. And you had to go back to the customer and get initialed. And it just created all kinds of chaos. And an admin manager said, well, if everybody did what they were supposed to do, we wouldn't have any problems. The process works. Well, not really. The process is broken, A. B, no one's perfect. So we have to account for that. So let's find a way to make the process workable. Let's manage to that process and focus on keeping people in tune to what they're supposed to do. And when mistakes happen, coach through it. So what do I mean by that? First, don't overcomplicate processes. It happens all the time. It doesn't have to be complicated. Okay? And I've brought things to the table in companies that I've worked at for process, and a simple idea turns into, a very complicated program. That's not what I'm looking for. Don't over-engineer it. But it has to be done. So first, it's like sales process, right? Get it in place, make it milestone-centric, something you can track and hold them accountable to. And then everybody follows it. Okay? Everybody follows it. Make them accountable to that process. Don't make it so regimented and complex that they're going to hate you and you're going to confuse them or tie their hands behind their backs. You hear this from sports all the time. You hear it in football. It's like it's too complicated. And the players are confused and they don't play well. You get somebody in there that understands the subtle nuances of the game and slowly brings those things into play that are important, but doesn't overcomplicate it. Doesn't make them stand out on the field and think about every play. Make sure that what you put in place, you would want to do if you were in the field, you would be fine executing on a daily basis. A lot of times managers and VPs and senior level folks create sales processes or programs for sales reps without any thought of what it would be like in the field executing that. Hint, hint. Bring in your top level people and get some feedback from them on how this should work and what works for them in the field and what doesn't. And then once you put them in place, then it's a matter of holding them accountable to following it, managing it. That's it. So when you think about sales process and you think about any process that you're implementing for a sales department, start by walking in their shoes. Start by walking in the customer's shoes. Sales process. How do buyers buy in your business? That's where you start. And don't build something that's overcomplicated and complex. So that's the lesson there for process. The elephant in the room. I don't care who you are as a manager, we've all had to deal with this. So if you're a new manager, it can be extremely difficult. If you're a young new manager and you're moving into a new role and you have some mavericks on your team, where you have one or two folks that are real high performance people, but they're they're difficult to, let's say they're difficult to deal with. And everybody tells you, this is going to, just let them do what they're going to do. Meanwhile, they're undermining your ability to manage it and become the leader that you need to be. So understand a couple of things. One, that it does take very special people to be successful in our business of selling. That they shouldn't be looked at in a negative light, these type of people. Again, walk in their shoes. Try to figure out why they're the way they are. Maybe they are a jerk. I don't know. But sometimes their habits, their responses, the way they manage themselves in the office is a direct result of what's happened to them or what's happened culturally in the organization. Maybe they're just waiting you out. You're the next manager that's gonna go. Or, yeah, we've seen these programs come and go before and they've never stuck. I do my own thing. It's not about starting conflict. It's about being an effective leader and managing properly. So just as much as they have to prove to you, you have to prove to them. So you have to leverage what they bring to the table into a positive, using their success and their ability to help others. But don't hold them up if they're not doing, and I want to separate this. If they don't follow company process, they do what they want, they're rude, they don't show up for meetings, they show up late, they do all these things to undermine your ability. You don't hold them up as where you want to be, because that sends the wrong message. Just hit your number and you'll be left alone. That's like the big thing. I hear that a lot. That's just garbage. Okay? I don't know that once a doctor achieves some level of success, maybe that success is based on the number of patients, number of completed surgeries without killing somebody, number of, income level, that you go, just leave them alone. They don't need to be taught anything new. Boy, I wouldn't want that. I wouldn't want a doctor that 20 years later hasn't been taught anything new because they've achieved the highest level of success. It's just ridiculous. Everybody needs help. Everybody needs to improve. Everybody needs to get better at what they do. And it's a lifetime commitment or a career commitment. So that's just horse hockey, as they say. A good manager understands that. I'm not going to sit here and say, this is how you need to manage Mavericks. You need to understand there are rules. So the way I managed it is, hey, I'm not going to come in here and try to change the world in one fell swoop with you. But we're a team. Here are the expectations. And here's what's going to happen if we don't meet those expectations. So I will help you if you help me. Okay. The first thing is you got to show up on time. If you don't have anything positive to contribute, then don't contribute it. If you have a problem with something, my door's open. You come sit and talk to me, and I'll do what I need to do to help you get through that, whatever that is. Okay? And then you start working on the relationship with them over time, because you want to bring them into the fold. Will you have to make a decision on someone that's a high performer that's just not meeting it in the overall? Yeah, that sucks. A lot of companies are afraid to do that. It takes courage as a manager to do that. But I will tell you, when we've done that, historically in my experience, when someone's been that bad, just undermining everything and impeding your ability to improve the team as a whole, and they move on, we've sold more every time. It's amazing how much more we sell when they're gone. I don't want to be handcuffed by anybody. So I want to make every attempt to work with that person and help them be successful. So A, take some time to walk into their shoes and understand why they are the way they are. B, you got to establish the ground rules up front, at least in terms of how you're going to manage your team and what the expectations are. C, slowly develop your relationship to the point where you're actually helping them and getting them to do the things that they need to do to become a productive member of the team, not just a lone wolf. Well, there are some people that are just like that. Well, if they are and they follow the rules and they do everything and they don't want to be involved in that stuff, that's okay too. But as long as they're part of the team and they're working with you and they're allowing you to, you're a leader, not allowing you, but you're becoming the leader you need to become, and you're actually helping them improve and get better at what they're doing, that's fine. Now, I will tell you, ignoring the elephant in the room is not going to help you. Just pushing them in a corner and pretending they're not there and working with everybody else will kill you in the end. You need to figure it out. And it takes a lot of work to do that. So there's a lot of little nuances to that. If anybody wants to talk to me about that, I got a ton of experience in it. I can spend hours talking to you about it. Reach out to me. I'm always interested in talking with folks. Patterns. This one's interesting to me. You got to think ahead with your rep. You have to know what those leading indicators are. I know if I have a really good relationship with my sales team, and I know my reps professionally and personally, like we talked about in the last podcast, and I know their dreams, desires, goals. We have a career path in place for them. We're following all the rules of engagement as a manager, leading the team, coaching, developing, training, having good podcast, good forecast and prospect meetings. I know them. I know them well. So if I know them well and I see a change in behavior, that's a pattern change. That tells me something. Small changes in performance, small changes in attitude, small changes tell you something's going on. So you need to be proactive and get out in front of them. Don't blow them off as, they're just having a bad day. If there's something going on, you want to know about it. Why? That's how you lose people. One, it could be, hey, they're having some personal issues. Somebody in their family's sick. Something's going on. That's okay. It happens. But it could be they're looking for a job. It could be they're not happy in their role here, or something's bothering them. And maybe if they're a good performer and you want to keep them in the fold, maybe you can work through that before it gets out of hand. Maybe it's affecting their performance and their numbers are starting to dip. And when numbers start to dip, things happen. So you want to get out ahead of that. It's not just personal patterns like they're showing up late for meetings. What's going on? Business is dropping. Something's going on. If you're looking at all the KPIs, you have a strong relationship, you're coaching on a regular basis, you're having forecast and pipeline meetings, you're going to know ahead of time what's happening. And you're going to be able to pinpoint the problem and say, hey, I'm noticing something here. Let's work on this. Let's prevent those weak movements from becoming a bad habit. Something's changed here. Let's fix that. Let's make sure we keep the productivity up or we increase the productivity. So understand the patterns of your rep. And if you do all the things that we're laying out here in these two podcasts, you'll see it. You'll see it. You'll know right away. I could tell when stuff was going on. Look, I'd go up to other managers and say, you got a problem on your hands right here. Here's a pattern I'm seeing with your rep. Sometimes I would get ignored. And 3 weeks later, they'd come in and they'd hand in their resignation. Or their numbers would just completely tank. And the manager would be like, I can't figure out what happened here. Sometimes I could see it on other teams. I definitely knew it on mine. So understand the patterns. Organized. Everybody tells you they're the most organized person on the planet. Oh, I have high organizational skills. I'm really good at time management. And they laugh about it after the interview. I told them that. I'm terribly organized. Time management is key as a manager. The first thing is tossing out those things that are a waste of your time. Don't spend time on meetings, list stuff. And be very clear. You're not going to have meetings about nothing. You're not going to have conversations about nothing. You're going to organize your day towards success, wrapped around the things in these two podcasts we're talking about. If you do that, you'll be fine. But if you don't have good time management skills, you need to work on that. You need to be very organized in your approach. You need to be prepared for your meetings with your reps. If you're going on a field ride, you better know what you're doing before you get in that car with them. You better know where they are in their pipeline, where they are in their forecast, some of the things they need to work on through your coaching sessions. It's critical to success. If you're not organized, you got problems. You can't, that's why meetings get missed. That's why stuff gets skipped. And that's why sales reps lose faith in their managers. You have to be the best at this. That's the pathway. You show them the way when you're organized as well. This is what you need to do to be successful. Don't go down the rabbit hole of letting the tail wag the dog, the next fire, the next phone call, manage your day. You own that. Everyone celebrates sales success. And I learned this a long time ago from a consultant who did work with me in a former company, work with all of us. Guy's amazing. He would talk about that. And I believe it, and I read it everywhere, but it's not really true. Okay? When a sales rep gets a deal, it's a hard-fought battle. And it should be celebrated. Everybody should be happy about it. Here's what happens. If a sales rep gets a deal, they turn it in, and somebody has a complaint. Paperwork's wrong. Contact's wrong. Scope of work's not exactly right. Blah, 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 blah. It just keeps pounding. Sales rep, I worked my butt off for this deal, and this is what I get back. Now, those of you on the admin side of the world, or those of you who are sitting back say, yeah, but their paperwork sucks, and this sucks, and that's it. I'm not saying that their paperwork shouldn't be right. They shouldn't be taught how to do things right and held accountable to that. What I'm saying is that getting a deal, everyone should be excited about that organizationally. Why? Because it's the engine that drives the company. Without the sale, business doesn't happen. That doesn't mean salespeople are better than anybody else. It just means that that's how it works. The first step in the process is selling something. Then everything happens after that. The processing, the billing, the accounting, the support services, whatever it is that you sell. All of that happens after you sell the product or service. And we should, as a company, should get excited about that. Hey, XYZ, Joe Blow just sold this. Do you know what that means for our company? It's great because the company grows and opportunities. It creates opportunities in your division or somewhere else in the company for you to do something else. It shouldn't be, oh, they sold another deal. Looks like the warehouse is going to be full. Oh, just doubled my work for the week. That's a cultural issue. You need to fix that. And it starts with the sales manager. And if you have to preach up and down the line to everybody in the company and get your senior managers, or if you're a business owner, you better damn well be celebrating it. Recognize the effort. I don't need plaques. I never did, or trophies, or my name on the wall. But it was always nice when someone said, hey, good job. You kicked butt on that deal. You did a great job. And business owners, let me explain something to you. If you have a manager who has a well-oiled team that's succeeding at a high level, you need to recognize them as well. Okay, off track there for a second. The deal, when a sales rep comes in with a deal, it's awesome. I had a sales rep first day on the job, sold something. First day out in the field, he cold called and came back and said, I need paperwork. I'm like, what? I sold, it was office. I sold a fax machine. What'd you sell it for? List price. How? I don't know. I told the guy the price. He said he'd take it. I was so excited. I was jumping up and down, high fives. It's $1,000 deal. And the look on his face, priceless. Everybody should recognize the effort and what it takes to close a deal and celebrate the living daylights out of it. There's a time to address paperwork. Go to the manager, have him come to you and say, hey, look, I'm real excited about this $2 million order, but paperwork's a train wreck. We need to work on that. Okay, I'll work on it. Show me where the problems are. Next time around, I'll make sure we line that up. But I'm not going to beat the hell out of them right now. I'm going to let them bask in the glory of their success because I want them to go find another one and another one after that. And then people internally are saying, well, what about us? We recognize the good effort and we should do that. That's cultural. But I'm talking about sales. Celebrate the deal. Thank you for subscribing to The Funnel, alignment-group.com/The Funnel. You can find us on Facebook. I'm on Twitter at John R. LinkedIn. We provide the podcast in video format on the website, on the podcast page, on the episode page. So you can watch it in video format. There's some notes that I use, kind of a slide presentation. We also have a YouTube channel. Check us out there if you want to check out any older episodes. We've been doing that for about 6-7 months now. So you can go back to probably 40-50 episodes of The Funnel and find them on the YouTube channel. You can contact me, Jay Shea, at alignment-group.com. Alignment-group.com is our website. Thank you for subscribing again, and keep filling the funnel.